Good evening. Welcome to the Municipality of South Dundas for special council meeting for Monday, September 22nd, 2025. I have a motion. Let it resolve that the September 22nd, 2025 special council meeting of the Municipality of South Dundas now be opened at 5:59 p.m. Moved by Councillor Ward, seconded by Councillor Smith. All in favor? Carried. Are there any disclosure of pecuniary interest tonight? Seeing none, we will move to the discussion item. So last week, or previous to last week, the Director of Roads, Cameron Harper, had reached out and wanted to discuss the upcoming potential construction of the Cass Bridge. And with further details got about, Mayor Fraser and I at North Dundas continue to talk about the potentials of that bridge being closed and having a detour. And we started to express the concerns to each other. And then at the county council meeting on Monday after the meeting, we had a chance to talk with Matt and Cameron for a few minutes, and they decided they should bring some of their thoughts to county council, which is going to be on Thursday morning. So that's when we thought, reached out to CEO DeHaan and said, maybe we should have a special council meeting to get all of our input before the deputy mayor and I are in that meeting on Thursday to make sure we can explore all the possibilities and give our input. So I asked Director DeHaan to put together a little information discussion package, and he's going to share that, and then we can have an open discussion on what we feel about the potential of the construction of the Cass Bridge.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I guess by virtue of some of my previous professional experience, this is kind of a familiar type of project to me, but essentially, I think you've summarized it well. The Transportation Department at SD&G, from what I understand, looking at some options with respect to Cass Bridge. They're in the detailed design stage, and they're reaching a critical decision point in terms of whether they instruct their design team to complete the design based on a full closure, which has its advantages from a contracting and schedule perspective, as well as a financial perspective, versus doing this type of construction through single lane closures and staged construction. So it's essentially split the bridge in half, work on one half, new bridge, then you have traffic on the new bridge while you work on the second half of the old bridge, and tie them all together and it's all done. So yeah, so again, based on my experience, there's positives and negatives to each approach, and I know that in the past we've often looked to local municipalities for input, feedback, and comment, and I think that that's really what in speaking with the mayor, that's what the intention of tonight is just to hear and make sure it's done in a public and open forum, what this council's feelings are, and I know that at a council, again, in my experience around the county council table, the input from the local municipalities impacted by the potential bridge closures is something that weighs very heavily in the decision making. So I'm confident that the input received by the mayor and deputy mayor will be well received by county council, just again based on my experience around that county council table. So with that, I'll leave it, and if there's any questions I can help navigate, I'm happy to do that. But I guess to remind council, I'm not overly familiar with kind of where they are in the project right now too. So anything super technical, I'm not in the know as I would have been when I was working at the counties.
Yeah, thanks, CEO DeHaan. Obviously, I'll kick off with just a few points, things that I were thinking about, and then obviously want to hear everybody's input on this one. So a couple of things was the length of detour is quite large. So as our residents are commuting north, A, to work, or B, for pleasure, and C, anyone on a tourist aspect coming south to our municipality is going to be hugely affected by the length of that detour. And, although the bridge is in North Dundas, it certainly affects South Dundas extremely, and Mayor Fraser and I both agree on that. So obviously the length of the detour is a major problem. Also, having residents stick to county roads is going to be a major problem as those roads fill up, because we're talking over 5,000 vehicles per day, and they'll start transversing on our municipality roads or North Dundas Township roads for shortcuts to move through. I also believe that the total length of time for the detours could be longer based on the amount of traffic, as 30 cars in a row all have to stop at a stop sign. That's much longer than one car traveling, stopping, and doing the time study. So I think there's a lot of things to consider. Those are a couple things that I've certainly expressed, and Mayor Fraser and I both have talked about, but I know there's others, and I'll give everybody an opportunity if you want to give some input on what you've heard so far, what you've seen, what you've read in the detailed package. Councilor Smith.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Broad. So you mentioned the part about using our local roads. There really are very few bridges across that river, so there's really like three of the bridges on here. There's only one other bridge on a local road that would be in North Dundas that could potentially be used, so there's really very few other alternates. And it's actually, if you look at where Increment is on the orange detour, it would be kind of, I guess you would say, kind of southeast of Increment. I think they call that one the Baldwin Bridge, and that really is like the only kind of local road detour that there would be. There's very few bridges across the river. Literally the options are Chesterville, Highway 31, and an Increment, and so everybody's going to be stuck either going one way or the other around this detour.
Yeah, and I think as that road becomes, the county road becomes busy, right? Some of those, our municipal roads, we're going to take an impact of that as well, for sure. That all lead again back to that same bridge, for sure. Councillor Wood?
From my perspective, like there's a huge cost savings, right, to just doing it all in 1 year. And that's something that weighs on me because it's like a $671,000 cost savings, which is substantial. Quite a few percentages on the tax base of savings. So I drive this road twice a day, every day, forward and back, and it will add time to my commute. But I also think the cost savings might be okay for me. The one thing that maybe you guys could take back to county council and ask is, my concern is more about emergency vehicles and adding that time to their route. Does that mean, like, will we get another ambulance to hover around? Like, how do we, and is that, maybe that's $671,000, do you know what I mean? So just those kind of questions I'd be interested in having an answer to, but like for me personally, it doesn't affect me, but I think the savings is substantial. I'm not sure either what kind of delay, if we did like a staged closure or what, I'm not sure what it's called, what kind of delay that would be, because I know when there has been lane restriction before, when they paved 31 a couple years ago, like you're waiting there 15 minutes. So it adds, even if there's one lane restriction, it still adds that time in travel. So it's kind of my perspective, but I don't know if the deputy mayor.
Deputy Mayor?
Yeah, thank you. When you look at detours like that, there's really 4 options that we have, right? And I'm not specific to this one, but there is detour as proposed. There is reduced lane flagging, reduced lane stop control, meaning that you have the green and red lights, and then, or can you do a bypass? So obviously in this scenario, you can't do a bypass. It's just prohibitive to do that. You've got to do a detour. So the real question I have when it comes to, and Councillor Ward alluded to it, was when there's flagging and when there's a stop control measure, is there a min and maximum time limit of to operate that on such a road with 5,000 cars? Because I was kind of thinking the same thing. I mean, yes, it shows that it might be a 17-minute detour, but what's the cycle time in terms of flagging, and what's the cycle time in terms of a controlled stop? And I would think there would be probably regulations around that. It's just not nilly-willy of, well, the first 20 cars go, we do a stop, another next 20 cars. So Ben, would you happen to have any background information on that? Is there a cycle that has to be in place for a flag and or a stop control?
Yeah, I can kind of answer. Again, I don't have the specifics for this project, but or what it might look like. But I know, again, through my experience, the best success we've had on bridge projects where we're staging it is actually where it's a where it's a default red, and then as soon as it senses a vehicle, it'll turn green and then cycle. So it'll stay red, wait for a car to approach, and then it'll hit a green if there's nobody coming in the other direction. If you're getting cars on both sides, then yeah, it's alternating between the two. And that length of time is actually based on the distance between the two signals. So because it's attempting to provide a minimum speed limit through it and allow cars to clear with the safety factor. So it really does depend on the distance between the, like how the traffic signals are set up. So I know like the 15-minute detour, or excuse me, the wait times that you might see in paving, that's a little bit longer, right? Because they are extending that work zone quite a bit. For a bridge, often a little bit quicker cycle, or it is a much quicker cycle time in my experience. So like I think of in my time at the counties, we had done County Road 31 overpass over the CP Bridge, and that was a staged project. I don't remember ever receiving any complaints, and if I'm not mistaken, that those signals were set up that way. Again, different scenario, and there was easier ways to get around it, but I think there's ways to successfully set it up to minimize delay, but there's absolutely delays associated with stage construction.
Yeah, thank you. So certainly, Mayor Broad, I think there are a couple questions that we need to bring forward at Thursday's meeting to fully understand. Again, I mean, we're talking 17 minutes. Let's say that is a true detour, but you know, if we're sitting there being flagged or sitting there being out of stop control, and we're 10, 12 minutes at a stop control, is 5 minutes going to, additional 5 minutes going to make or break? You know, I'm kind of with Councillor Ward a little bit. For an extra 5 minutes, saving the $600,000 may go a little bit further or not. The other thing I was thinking about as well, as you alluded to, was the emergency. But what about ag? I mean, that's going to be a fairly big impact to the agriculture community. I'm sure Mayor Fraser will have a better handle on that, on who needs to access both sides of the Cass Bridge. So again, that's information that hopefully will be more forthcoming on Thursday, that we can, you know, kind of intelligently talk about. Certainly from a personal perspective, I understand Councillor Ward, because you're kind of live a little bit more to the west, so you could probably detour and snake your way to work. Myself, I work in Ottawa. There's not a lot of routes that I can take. This certainly is an impact one way or another. I'm not really fussy about adding an extra 17 minutes to an hour and 5 minute ride now. And I don't think a lot of people that commute would want that extra 17 minutes. So, you know, I'm hoping that it can be staged, but I just think there's more information that needs to be forthcoming.
Yeah, I would say not only the one thing that really concerned me is not the time. It's for 7 months, 8 months, the new habits that are created of folks not, you know, if you think about anybody that's traveling north on 31, they're going to access 43 to Kemptville, right? That stop in Winchester, or vice versa. You know, once they start new habits, do they continue those habits in the future, right? So those are things that are also, you know, I want to think about to, you know, driving business out of Dundas County, right, versus into other municipalities. You know, maybe something we'd want to consider. Councillor Vino, comments?
Yep, I do have one question that I would have would be, for commercial traffic, the reroutes, the detours, are there any load restrictions that could be in place during like the spring thaw and whatnot that would be different than 31 would be? Because if there is different conditions on any of those detours, that could impact the commercial industry significantly.
Great question.
Yep, Councillor Smith?
Yeah, that's actually a really good question, because as a follow-up to that, so Highway 31 does not have any spring thaw restrictions on it currently, given it was an old Kings Highway, whereas all the other county roads do. So if it extends, say, assuming it would probably start in maybe May, just assuming, and in 1 year, if it did go into a second year, if it started, say, during the spring thaw to try and hurry up and get it done, would they be waived? Maybe it's just a good, that's a question, it's a possibility. And it did also notice that it said that maybe during part of the staging, that it may go down to 3.2 meters in total width. that would pretty much, if it gets that narrow, that's barely enough room for transport to get through. It would almost eliminate anything agriculture related. There would be almost nothing that would be able to fit through that agriculture related. A small tractor, that would be it, yeah.
Yeah, I guess, yeah, Councillor.
No, it's a great question. Just to follow up, I mean, Councillor Vino may know, I would think Ben would know, but what would be the most safest minimal width that yet you would be comfortable with one of your rigs? I mean, 3.2 is what, almost 10 feet?
Yeah, I work in feet, so 10 feet would be that'd be the minimum I would like to see. Trucks are 8.5 feet wide, so 10 feet gives you a little bit of grace on both sides.
So keep the mirrors in, is what you're saying.
Pretty much.
If I recall,
don't have power mirrors on any.
Yeah, if I recall from the conversation, they want to have 3.5, so we're a couple decimal points short of what the ideal condition is. Yeah. Interest in requesting a public meeting for public input. Absolutely.
Absolutely.
I also think engaging the local agriculture federation would be wise on this move too.
Absolutely. Yeah, that's why I mentioned that.
Well, yeah, because like, you know, if you think about all the agricultural activities that happen on those roads, we're now putting 5,000 cars in with those agricultural activities, right? And then all the ag activities that need to use 31 are now using those other roads. So absolutely a bigger challenge for sure. Any other comments?
I think we got enough to
Think we got enough details?
ask.
Yeah, Councillor
Yeah,
Smith.
just another one. So the bulk of this is going to happen during the summer, but it's also going to impact school bus routes. Yeah, like the big one's going to be, of course, like all emergency services as well. That's going to be the big one.
Yeah. All right, very good. Any other questions, comments? All right, seeing none. I did have another agenda item. I didn't approve the agenda for tonight, so I'm going to ask for a motioner that I resolve that the council municipality approve tonight's agenda. Councillor Ward, Deputy Mayor St. Pierre. Oh, great. So make that official. Okay, and then we'll move into a closed session. Let it be resolved, the Council of Dundas move to an in-camera session at 6:17 p.m. to discuss following matters under Section 329 of the Municipal Act, personal matters, identifiable individual, or local municipality or local board employee. Moved by Deputy Mayor St. Pierre, seconded by Councillor Smith. All in favor? Carried. Okay, so we'll put our video on close. Welcome back to the Municipality of South Dundas Council Special Meeting, September 22nd, 2025. I have a motion, let it be resolved that council rise and convene an open session at 7:20 PM and that council provided direction to the CAO as noted in the closed session minutes. Moved by Councillor Smith, seconded by Councillor Ward. All in favor? Carried. And let it be resolved that the Council of South Dundas adjourn with the call of the chair at 7:31 PM. Moved by Councillor Smith, seconded by Councillor Ward. All in favor? Carried. And we'll say goodnight from South Dundas.